Hello, and welcome to another Madman restoration video. In this video, I will be restoring a classic piece of mid-century modern furniture. This was designed by George Nelson for Herman Miller, and it has seen some better days. The previous owner has attempted to scrape the top of the cabinet, and I guess that'll make my job a little easier. There is a lot of missing veneer on this piece. These are the two biggest areas, and I will show you how I address them. Something interesting about this piece is that the legs are not painted black. It looks like they have been colored with toner lacquer from the factory, but I will make them black like they are supposed to be. First thing I'm going to do is glue the veneer down. For this, I'm just going to use some super glue. You want to do this first because if you get any glue residue on now, it's okay because you still have to strip the finish off. But if the glue gets on the bare wood, you may have trouble later when it comes to coloring and sealing your piece with lacquer. I'm using tape as a clamp to hold the veneer down as the glue dries. One thing on the internet that really bothers me is how people prep their drawers. All you need to use is naphtha and steel wool. Using a popular beeswax product should not be used here. Sure, it smells great, but it only attracts dirt and grime that will be difficult to remove later. To determine how I'm going to color this piece, I'm going to focus on the area where the finish was already removed. What I would like for you to do is focus on the area where I have the arrow. I'm going to wet the area with acetone and see if the bare wood matches the finished area. To my eyes, this looks like a match. So what does that mean for coloring? It means that from the factory, this piece did not have a lot of color added to it, so I'm simply going to add vinyl sealer and lacquer to this piece. Since this was already scraped, I figured I would try to remove the finish using my scraper. I like to use a utility knife to scrape the edges because there is less of a chance of damaging the veneer on the edge. Next, I use my random orbital sander and sand with 150 grit paper. Then I like to hand sand with the same grit sandpaper just in case there are any swirl marks left by the random orbital sander. Now it's time to address the missing veneer. For these large areas, I'm going to tape them off and fill with Bondo body filler, the same body filler you would use if you were working on a car. The tape isn't necessary, but I find I always get unwanted filler in the pores of the wood next to the missing veneer, so I like to tape it off so I can be a little sloppy when I place the Bondo in there. When using Bondo, just follow the directions that are on the can. As you can see, I am spreading it pretty liberally because I know I'm going to scrape and take off the excess. Before the Bondo fully dries, I like to scrape the excess off so there is less sanding to do later. It didn't make it on camera, but the next step is to hand sand with 150 grit sandpaper, then spray a couple quick coats of vinyl sealer. Now it's ready for inpainting. These are the materials I'm going to use to inpaint. The main colors I'm going to use are Van Dyke Brown and Raw Sienna. Each piece is totally unique and you will have to use your eye to judge what colors you're going to need. I like to start with finding the lightest color in the wood. And remember, this is a layering process. You will be adding more color to each layer. After my first base layer of color, I like to use a Mohawk grain pen to put in some faint grain lines. I repeat this process until I am happy with my final result. Remember, it's never going to be perfect, but as long as your eyes are not attracted to the damaged area, it's a win. But I will say my inpainting skills are pretty damn good. For the legs, I'm going to give them a quick sanding with 150 grit sandpaper. To make the legs black, I'm going to use some gloss acrylic paint. Next it's time to seal the piece, and for that I'm going to use Mohawk vinyl sealer, blush retarder, and lacquer thinner. I like to use about 70% vinyl sealer and 30% lacquer thinner with a splash of blush retarder, and the ratio goes the same for your lacquer top coats. Then I spray vinyl sealer on the entire piece. After a couple minutes, when the vinyl sealer has dried, I scuff with 320 grit sandpaper. I repeat these steps 2 times, and then I do the same process, but instead of vinyl sealer, I use satin lacquer for my top coats. Now here it is, all finished. The finish on this piece is very subtle, but it's really important because it looks the way it's supposed to. And that is what I'm really proud of with this project. Follow my Instagram for more mid-century modern restorations, and thanks for watching.